There's a version of you that exists as pure potential, a vision of who you could become if you developed every gift, healed every wound, learned every lesson available to you, and lived with complete alignment to your deepest values. This isn't a fantasy version requiring perfection or superhuman abilities. It's simply you, fully developed. You, with your specific combination of talents cultivated rather than dormant. You, with your particular perspective shared rather than hidden. You, with your unique capacity for impact realized rather than potential energy that never converts to kinetic. Most people live their entire lives without coming close to this fuller version of themselves. They settle into patterns established early, never questioning whether those patterns serve them. They accept limitations imposed by fear, circumstance, or other people's expectations without testing whether those boundaries are actually fixed. They operate from a fraction of their actual capacity, never realizing how much more is available to them. This isn't a judgment, it's simply observation. The gap between current self and potential self isn't evidence of failure. It's evidence of possibility. It's the space where growth can happen, where transformation is available, where you can become more of who you're capable of being. Consider your natural abilities. Everyone possesses certain innate gifts, ways of thinking, creating, connecting, or doing that come more naturally to you than to most people. Maybe you have unusual capacity for empathy, for seeing systems and patterns, for creative expression, for physical coordination, for learning languages, for bringing people together, for analyzing complexity, for seeing beauty, for making people laugh. These natural abilities are starting points, not end points. They're seeds, not finished gardens. The question isn't whether you have gifts. Everyone does. The question is whether you're developing them. Are you investing in cultivating your natural strengths, or are you ignoring them because they don't fit conventional career paths, or because developing them would require sustained effort? Are you using your abilities in service of something meaningful, or are they lying dormant while you spend your energy on work that doesn't utilize them? Consider your accumulated knowledge and experience. You've lived a unique life that no one else has lived. You've had specific experiences, faced particular challenges, learned distinct lessons, developed specialized knowledge. This combination of experiences is genuinely unique. No one else carries exactly what you carry. But the question is whether you're extracting value from your experiences, or just accumulating them like items in storage. Are you reflecting on what you've been through and distilling wisdom from it? Are you using lessons from past challenges to navigate current ones more skillfully? Are you sharing insights from your journey in ways that help others? Or are your experiences just things that happen to you, with no intentional meaning-making or application? Consider your values and what matters to you. What breaks your heart? What makes you angry? What brings you joy? What do you care about deeply enough that you'd sacrifice comfort for it? These emotional responses point toward what you're meant to contribute. The things that move you aren't random. They're indicators of where your passion and the world's need might intersect. But most people never translate their values into action. They care about things but don't do anything about them. They see problems but assume someone else will solve them. They have visions for how things could be better, but never take steps to make those visions real. The gap between caring about something and actually working toward it is where potential remains unrealized. Consider your sphere of influence. You impact people, family, friends, colleagues, community members, even strangers who observe how you show up in the world. Your words, actions, and presence either contribute positively to their lives or don't. You either leave people better than you found them, or you don't. You either create environments of safety, growth, and possibility, or you create environments of fear, stagnation, and limitation. The fuller version of you understands this influence and wields it responsibly. That version is intentional about the impact you have, choosing words carefully, treating people with dignity, creating spaces where others can flourish, using whatever platform or position you have to benefit others, not just yourself. Consider your capacity for growth. Human beings are remarkably plastic, capable of learning, changing, and developing throughout life. Your brain can form new neural pathways. Your habits can shift. Your perspectives can expand. Your skills can improve. Your character can strengthen. The person you are at 40 doesn't have to be the person you were at 20. The person you are at 60 doesn't have to be the person you were at 40. But this growth doesn't happen automatically. It requires intention, effort, and often discomfort. The fuller version of you embraces growth as a lifelong project rather than something that ended when formal education concluded. That version stays curious, stays humble, stays willing to be challenged and changed. The gap between current and potential self isn't fixed. It's not that the potential version of you exists in some unreachable heaven while you're stuck being the limited earthly version. The potential is accessible through daily choices compounded over time. Every time you choose courage over fear, you close the gap slightly. Every time you invest in developing a skill, you move toward potential. Every time you act according to your values despite inconvenience, you become more of who you're capable of being. The tragedy isn't that most people don't instantly become their fullest selves. The tragedy is that many people never even try. They accept early limitations as permanent. They settle into comfortable mediocrity. They spend decades in patterns that don't serve them because change feels hard. They reach the end of their lives with their potential largely unrealized, wondering what might have been if they'd been braver, more intentional, more willing to become who they were capable of becoming. But it doesn't have to be that way. At any point, you can choose to start closing the gap. You can begin developing dormant gifts. You can start living more consistently with your values. You can invest in growth. You can expand your positive impact. You can become more of who you're capable of being. The fuller version of you isn't waiting in some distant future that may never arrive. It's waiting in today's choices, in this moment's decision about how you'll show up, what you'll invest in, what you'll tolerate, and what you'll change. Each person possesses a unique combination of abilities, experiences, perspectives, and passions that positions them to contribute something specific to the world. Not something grandiose necessarily, but something genuine, a particular way of showing up, a specific problem they're equipped to address, a distinct perspective they can offer, a unique way they can serve others. Your unique contribution sits at the intersection of several factors. First, what are you naturally good at? What comes easily to you that others struggle with? What do people consistently ask for your help with? These natural strengths are clues to your contribution. You're not meant to spend your life doing things you're terrible at. You're meant to develop and deploy your actual capabilities. Second, what have your experiences prepared you to do? What have you been through that gives you insight others don't have? What have you overcome that equips you to help others through similar challenges? Your experiences, especially difficult ones, aren't just things to recover from. They're preparation for contribution. The person who's navigated grief can comfort others grieving in ways someone who hasn't experienced loss simply cannot. The person who's overcome addiction understands recovery differently than someone who's only studied it academically. Your experiences position you to serve specific populations in specific ways. Third, what does the world around you need? What problems do you see that frustrate you? What gaps do you notice that no one's addressing? What would make your community, organization, or field better? Need creates opportunity for contribution. When you notice a genuine need and you have capacity to address it, that's often an indicator of where you're meant to serve. Fourth, what do you care about enough to sustain effort over time? Contribution isn't usually a one-time burst of energy. It's sustained engagement over months or years. What matters to you deeply enough that you'd work on it even when it's hard, even when you're not immediately rewarded, even when progress is slow? That deep caring is necessary fuel for meaningful contribution. Your unique contribution probably doesn't look like anyone else's. We're often taught to model ourselves on successful people in our fields, which has value for learning. But ultimately, your contribution will be distinct because you're distinct. You bring your particular combination of abilities, experiences, values, and personality. Your work, your service, your impact will have your signature on it. It will feel like you, not like a copy of someone else. This means you need to stop waiting for permission to contribute in your own way. Stop trying to fit yourself into someone else's template. Stop believing that unless you can do exactly what some other successful person did, you have nothing to offer. Your contribution might be quieter, smaller scale, or different in form than what you see celebrated publicly, and it's still valuable. It's still needed. It's still uniquely yours to offer. Many people struggle to identify their unique contribution because they're looking for something extraordinary when what's needed is often ordinary excellence. You don't have to cure cancer or start a revolutionary movement. You might be meant to raise children with unusual emotional intelligence who then positively impact their generation. You might be meant to create beauty in a particular medium that brings joy to people who encounter it. You might be meant to solve mundane but important problems in your organization that make everyone's work easier. You might be meant to show up consistently for a small group of people who desperately need someone reliable in their lives. Contribution isn't only about scale, it's about authenticity, quality, and alignment. A small contribution made with integrity and genuine care often creates more positive impact than a large contribution made for ego gratification or external validation. To identify your unique contribution, ask yourself these questions. If time and money weren't constraints, what would you spend your time doing? This question helps bypass practical concerns and get to what you genuinely care about. The answer might not be immediately actionable, but it points toward your authentic interests. What makes you come alive? When do you feel most engaged, most yourself, most aligned? The activities and contexts that create this aliveness are clues to where your contribution might lie. You're designed to contribute in ways that energize rather than deplete you over the long term. What would you regret not doing or becoming if you reached the end of your life? This mortality awareness question cuts through trivial concerns and helps identify what genuinely matters to you. The things you'd regret not attempting are worth attempting. Who have you already helped? And how? Look backward at times you've genuinely served others. What were you doing? What need were you meeting? These past successes, even small ones, often indicate your capacity for future contribution. You don't have to invent something entirely new. You can expand and deepen what you're already doing well. What breaks your heart? What injustice, suffering, or problem bothers you enough that you think about it even when you don't have to? This emotional response often indicates where you're meant to engage. You're bothered by specific things partly because you have capacity to do something about them. Your unique contribution will likely evolve over time. What you're equipped to contribute at 25 differs from what you can offer at 45 or 65. Different life stages bring different capacities. Early career might be about building skills and establishing yourself. Midlife might be about mentoring others and leading significant projects. Later life might be about sharing accumulated wisdom and supporting the next generation. Don't judge your current contribution against what you imagine you'll eventually offer. Contribute what you can contribute now, with what you have now, from where you are now. Future contribution will build on present contribution, but only if you actually engage with what's available to you today. Your contribution also doesn't have to be your paid work. While ideally your employment would align with your unique contribution, That's not always possible or practical, especially in early stages. Many people contribute significantly through volunteer work, creative projects, community involvement, or how they show up in relationships, while earning money through work that's simply functional. There's no shame in this arrangement. What matters is that you're finding ways to contribute what's uniquely yours to offer, whether or not that contribution generates income. The world needs what you specifically can offer. Not what everyone can offer. What you can offer because of who you are, what you've experienced, what you've learned, what you care about, what you're capable of. That contribution is waiting for you to claim it and develop it. Understanding your potential and identifying your unique contribution is one thing. Actually becoming who you're capable of being is another. Numerous obstacles prevent people from closing the gap between current and potential self. Let's examine common barriers and how to navigate them. Fear is perhaps the most pervasive obstacle. Fear of failure keeps people from attempting things they might fail at. Fear of success keeps people from achieving what they're capable of because they're afraid of the responsibility, visibility, or change that success brings. Fear of judgment prevents people from expressing themselves authentically or pursuing unconventional paths. Fear of inadequacy creates imposter syndrome that undermines confidence even when you're performing well. These fears aren't eliminated, they're faced and moved through. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's action despite fear. You build courage by taking small risks and discovering you can handle outcomes, even when they're not ideal. You reduce fear's power by exposing yourself gradually to what scares you and proving to yourself that you're more resilient than your anxiety suggests. Limited beliefs about yourself create self-imposed ceilings. If you believe you're not creative, you won't attempt creative projects. If you believe you're bad with money, you won't develop financial skills. If you believe you're not a leader, you won't step into leadership opportunities. These beliefs, often formed early and rarely examined, constrain your development. Challenging limiting beliefs requires catching yourself when you make absolute statements about your identity or capabilities. "I'm not good at public speaking" might be more accurately stated as, "I haven't developed public speaking skills yet." "I'm not creative" might really mean, "I haven't practiced creative expression in ways that feel natural to me." The shift from fixed statements to growth-oriented ones opens possibility for change. Lack of resources, time, money, energy, support, creates real obstacles. Not everyone has equal access to opportunities for development. Financial constraints limit access to education, coaching, or experiences that would accelerate growth. Time constraints from demanding jobs or caregiving responsibilities limit what you can pursue. Energy depletion from chronic stress or health issues reduces capacity for growth projects. These constraints are real and shouldn't be minimized. But they also shouldn't be accepted as permanent or total barriers. Look for free or low-cost resources, libraries, online learning, community programs. Look for small pockets of time. 15 minutes daily adds up. Look for ways to build energy through sustainable practices rather than just spending whatever you have. Constraints require creativity and patience, not complete surrender. Environmental factors, unsupportive relationships, toxic workplaces, chaotic living situations, drain energy and undermine growth. It's difficult to become your best self when you're surrounded by people who criticize your attempts to grow, when your workplace punishes initiative, or when your living situation is unstable or unsafe. Sometimes environmental factors can be changed. You can set boundaries with unsupportive people, you can find different employment, you can improve your living situation. Sometimes they can't be changed immediately, and you have to find ways to protect yourself and carve out space for growth despite challenging environments. This might mean being selective about what you share with whom, finding community outside difficult environments, or creating strong boundaries between different areas of your life. Perfectionism prevents many people from attempting what they can't do perfectly. If your standard is perfection, you'll never start most things because you can't guarantee you'll excel immediately. You'll quit things as soon as they become difficult because struggle feels like evidence of inadequacy. You'll hide your work rather than sharing it because it doesn't meet impossible standards. Overcoming perfectionism means embracing good enough, understanding that mastery comes through sustained imperfect practice, and recognizing that your worth isn't determined by flawless performance. It means valuing progress over perfection and being willing to be a beginner at things that matter to you. Comparison undermines many people's development. When you constantly measure yourself against others, their achievements, their pace, their apparent ease, you either feel inadequate, they're so far ahead, or complacent, I'm doing better than them. Neither response serves your growth. Comparison focuses you on external metrics rather than internal development. It ignores the reality that everyone's starting point, resources, and journey are different. The antidote to comparison is focusing on your own progress over time. Are you more skilled than you were last year? More aligned with your values? More consistent in positive practices? Your only meaningful comparison is with your past self, not with other people's current selves. Lack of clarity about direction paralyzes some people. They can't move forward because they don't know exactly where they're going, and they won't start until they have complete certainty about the destination. But clarity often comes through movement, not before it. You discover what you want by trying things, not just by thinking about them. If you're stuck in analysis paralysis, pick something that seems generally aligned with your interests or values and commit to it for a defined period. 3 months, 6 months. See what you learn. Evaluate whether it's worth continuing or whether you should pivot. This experimental approach creates clarity through experience rather than waiting for certainty before acting. Trauma and unhealed wounds create obstacles for many people. Past experiences of abuse, neglect, betrayal, or loss create patterns of protection that once served you but now limit you. You might avoid intimacy because closeness has historically led to pain. You might self-sabotage success because achievement has historically created problems. You might maintain hypervigilance because relaxation has historically been dangerous. Healing from trauma often requires professional support, therapy, counseling, or other healing modalities. This isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Some wounds don't heal through willpower alone. Getting appropriate help to address underlying trauma removes obstacles to becoming who you're capable of being. Unhealed wounds aren't character flaws, they're injuries that need treatment. The path to becoming your fuller self requires addressing whichever obstacles are most present in your life. You don't have to overcome every obstacle simultaneously. Identify the 1 or 2 barriers that most significantly limit your growth and focus there. As you address those, other obstacles often become easier to navigate. Understanding your potential and identifying obstacles is valuable, but transformation requires action. Let's explore concrete practices that help you close the gap between who you are and who you're capable of becoming. Establish a daily practice of self-reflection. Spend 10 to 15 minutes each day examining your thoughts, feelings, choices, and patterns. What went well today? What could have gone better? Where did you act consistently with your values? Where did you compromise them? What are you learning? This regular reflection builds self-awareness that's foundational for intentional growth. Journaling is one effective method for reflection, but it's not the only one. You might reflect through meditation, walking, or simply sitting quietly without devices. The format matters less than the consistency and honesty of the practice. Identify one area for focused development. Rather than trying to improve everything simultaneously, choose one specific area. A skill you want to build, a habit you want to establish, a relationship you want to strengthen, a fear you want to face. Focus sustained attention there for at least 3 months before adding another focus area. Make this focus area concrete and measurable. Not become a better communicator, but practice active listening in every conversation this week. Not get healthier, but exercise for 30 minutes 4 times this week. Specificity creates accountability and allows you to track progress. Create structures that support desired changes. Willpower alone won't sustain transformation. You need structures, routines, systems, accountability that make desired behaviors easier and undesired behaviors harder. If you want to write more, establish a daily writing time and protect it rigorously. If you want to reduce social media use, delete apps from your phone. If you want to improve relationships, schedule regular connection time. These structures remove the need to make the same decision repeatedly. Instead of deciding each day whether to exercise, you follow your established routine. Instead of resisting temptation constantly, you remove temptation from your environment. Seek feedback from people who want your growth. Ask trusted friends, mentors, or colleagues for honest feedback about your strengths and areas for development. Specifically request that they tell you things you might not want to hear, blind spots you have, patterns you're not aware of, ways you undermine yourself. Receiving feedback well is a skill. Listen without defending. Ask clarifying questions. Thank people for their honesty. Sit with feedback before deciding what to do with it. Don't immediately accept or reject it. Consider what truth might be in it, even if it's not entirely accurate. Engage with content and community that supports your growth. Read books, listen to podcasts, take courses, or attend events related to areas where you're developing. Surround yourself with people who are also invested in growth. Their example and encouragement will support your own development. Be selective about this input. Not all content is valuable, and some is actively harmful. Choose sources that challenge you to grow while also respecting your dignity and worth. Avoid content that shames, manipulates, or creates unhealthy comparison. Practice skills deliberately, not just casually. Deliberate practice involves focused effort on specific aspects of a skill, immediate feedback, and repetition with refinement. This is different from just doing something repeatedly without attention to improvement. If you want to improve public speaking, don't just speak publicly more. Record yourself, identify specific weaknesses, vocal variety, eye contact, structure. Practice those elements specifically, get feedback from skilled speakers, and gradually incorporate improvements. This focused approach accelerates skill development far beyond casual practice. Take calculated risks regularly. Growth lives outside your comfort zone. Regularly do things that scare you slightly. Have difficult conversations. Attempt projects you're not sure you can complete. Put your work out publicly. Apply for opportunities you're not certain you're qualified for. Start with manageable risks, not life-threatening ones. The point is building your capacity to tolerate uncertainty and potential failure, not traumatizing yourself. As you successfully navigate small risks, you build confidence for larger ones. Address health foundations. Your physical and mental health significantly impact your capacity for growth. Prioritize adequate sleep, regular movement, nutritious food, stress management, and social connection. If you're dealing with mental health challenges, seek appropriate professional support. Trying to grow without addressing health fundamentals is like trying to build a house on unstable ground. The foundation matters. Taking care of your basic well-being isn't separate from becoming your fuller self. It's prerequisite to it. Practice saying no to protect your yes. Every yes to something that doesn't serve your growth is a no to something that would. As you get clearer about who you're becoming and what you're developing, you need to protect time and energy for those priorities by declining other demands. This is difficult, especially if you're a people pleaser or conflict avoider. But boundaries are essential. You can't do everything, be everything to everyone, or pursue every opportunity. Selective focus allows depth of development that scattered attention prevents. Celebrate progress, not just achievement. Notice and acknowledge when you do something consistent with who you're becoming, even if the outcome isn't yet what you're working toward. If you practice a skill, that's worth celebrating even if you're not yet proficient. If you have a difficult conversation, that's worth acknowledging even if it didn't resolve the issue. If you try something new, that's worth noting even if it didn't go well. Celebrating progress reinforces the behaviors that create growth and maintains motivation during the long middle periods between starting and achieving goals. Regularly revisit and refine your vision. Every few months, take time to reflect on whether you're moving in the direction you want to go. Are your daily practices aligned with your larger goals? Have your priorities shifted? Do you need to adjust your focus? This periodic review ensures you're not just active, but active in service of intentional development. Becoming your fuller self is a lifelong project, not a destination you reach and then maintain effortlessly. It requires sustained commitment, regular adjustment, and patience with yourself during inevitable setbacks. But it's also the most meaningful work you can do, developing your gifts, living your values, contributing your unique offering, and becoming increasingly who you're capable of being. As you close the gap between who you are and who you're capable of becoming, your daily life begins to look different. You make different choices. You show up differently in relationships. You pursue different opportunities. You handle challenges with different resources. Let's explore what living increasingly into your potential actually looks like in practice. You become more discerning about where you invest your limited time and energy. As you develop clarity about your values and contribution, you become more selective. You say yes to opportunities aligned with who you're becoming and no to things that would pull you away from that path, even when those things are good in themselves. You understand that you can't do everything, so you choose what matters most to you rather than trying to please everyone or pursue every possibility. This selectivity isn't selfishness, it's stewardship. You're stewarding your gifts, your time, your energy in ways that allow you to offer your best to the world rather than scattering yourself across too many commitments and delivering mediocrity everywhere. You develop increasing comfort with being different. As you become more authentically yourself, you'll inevitably diverge from conventional paths and expectations. You'll make choices that don't make sense to people who don't share your values or vision. You'll pursue things that others question. You'll decline opportunities that others would jump at. Growing comfort with being misunderstood or unconventional is part of becoming your fuller self. This doesn't mean being contrarian just for the sake of being different. It means having enough clarity about your own path that you're not derailed by others' confusion about or criticism of your choices. You can listen to input without being controlled by others' opinions. You become less reactive and more responsive. As you develop self-awareness and emotional regulation, you're less likely to react impulsively from fear, anger, or other strong emotions. You can pause, notice what you're feeling, and choose how to respond rather than being controlled by automatic reactions. This increased agency in your responses creates better outcomes in relationships, at work, and in how you navigate challenges. Developing this responsiveness is ongoing work. You'll still have reactive moments, but they become less frequent and less intense as you practice noticing your patterns and choosing differently. You take ownership of your life rather than blaming circumstances. While you acknowledge that some things are beyond your control, you focus on what you can influence. You take responsibility for your choices, your development, your responses. You stop waiting for perfect conditions, or for someone to rescue you, or for circumstances to magically improve. You work with what you have, from where you are, doing what you can. This ownership is empowering. Instead of feeling like a victim of life, you recognize yourself as an agent who makes choices that shape outcomes. Not complete control, but genuine influence. You develop deeper, more authentic relationships. As you become more genuine yourself, you attract and build relationships with people who appreciate your authentic self rather than a performed version of you. You're more willing to be vulnerable, to share what's true, to ask for what you need. You're also better able to show up for others because you're not depleted from maintaining false fronts. Some relationships won't survive your growth. People attached to who you were might not appreciate who you're becoming. This is painful but sometimes necessary. The relationships that do survive often deepen significantly as you bring more of yourself to them. You contribute more meaningfully to others. As you develop your gifts and clarify your contribution, you have more to offer. Your work, paid or unpaid, creates more positive impact. Your presence benefits people more. Your resources, knowledge, and capabilities can be deployed in service of things larger than yourself. This contribution brings deep satisfaction. Humans are wired for meaningful contribution, and when you're offering what's uniquely yours to give, you experience a sense of rightness and purpose that self-focused pursuits don't provide. You handle setbacks differently. You still face challenges, failures, and disappointments, but you interpret them differently. Instead of seeing them as evidence of your inadequacy or as reasons to quit, you see them as information, as learning opportunities, as temporary obstacles. Your resilience increases because you have evidence of having navigated difficulty before. This doesn't mean setbacks don't hurt. They do. But they don't devastate you or derail you as significantly as they might have before. You experience more alignment and less internal conflict. When your daily choices increasingly reflect your values, when your work utilizes your gifts, when your relationships are authentic, you experience less of the exhausting internal conflict that comes from living in contradiction to yourself. You might face external challenges, but you're not also fighting yourself. This internal alignment creates energy for other pursuits. You're not spending enormous resources managing cognitive dissonance or maintaining false versions of yourself. You become more generous. As you develop yourself and your gifts, you have more to share. And as you experience the satisfaction of meaningful contribution, you want to share more. You become more generous with your time, knowledge, resources, and attention. This generosity flows from abundance rather than depletion. You're giving from fullness, not trying to earn worth through giving. Living into your potential is a direction, not a destination. You're never done growing, never complete in your development, never finished becoming. There's always another edge to explore, another capacity to develop, another way you could stretch. This ongoing nature of growth isn't discouraging. It's what keeps life interesting and meaningful across decades. Your potential, who you're capable of becoming, isn't a fixed thing waiting somewhere for you to finally reach it. It's dynamic, evolving as you evolve, expanding as you develop. The fuller version of you that exists as possibility today will look different from the fuller version that exists as possibility 10 years from now, because you'll have grown, learned, and become capable of things you can't yet imagine. What matters isn't reaching some final version of yourself. What matters is the trajectory. Are you generally moving toward becoming more of who you're capable of being? Are you developing rather than stagnating? Are you growing rather than shrinking? Are you becoming more authentically yourself rather than less? If the general direction is toward growth, development, and authenticity, you're on the right path. The specifics of what that looks like will be unique to you. Your gifts, your values, your context, your season of life. Don't measure yourself against someone else's path or some idealized version that doesn't account for your actual circumstances and constraints. Your fuller self is calling to you from the future, inviting you forward, not demanding perfection, not requiring immediate transformation, just inviting you to take the next step, make the next choice, do the next thing that moves you toward who you're capable of becoming. That invitation is always available. You can answer it today, in this moment, through one choice that serves your development rather than undermines it. What you're capable of becoming is extraordinary, not because you're better than others, but because every human fully developed is extraordinary. The world needs you to become who you're capable of being because it needs what only you can offer. If this exploration of potential resonated with you, here's what I invite you to do. Subscribe to this channel for more content on personal growth, living with purpose, and becoming who you're capable of being. In the comments, share one specific step you're taking this week toward becoming your fuller self. Maybe it's finally starting that project, having that difficult conversation, or establishing that daily practice you've been thinking about. Naming your commitment creates accountability. Share this video with someone who's struggling to see their own potential or who needs encouragement to pursue growth. Most importantly, remember, you're capable of far more than you currently believe. Your potential isn't fantasy. It's real possibility waiting for you to develop it. The world needs who you're capable of becoming. Start becoming that person today. I'll see you in the next video.